didn't punch you. I was hitting you. I didn't punch you. I was hitting you. That's a confusing statement, isn't it? You're a baby. You're less than a man because you walk away instead of fighting. Confusing statements, right? If you feel confused, it's because it's meant to confuse you. These are the words or the kind of statements that a gaslighter will make. A gaslighter usually is a pathological liar or someone of narcissistic tendencies. A psychopath. There's so many terms for people like these because there's so many of them. That I said these because there's so many of them. It wasn't just my accent, and sometimes it does get in the way, but that's besides the point. I guess this video is in response to what is happening, what we're seeing in the court of law after the Me Too movement, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but this has a lot to do with that. Now we're seeing on in plain sight, almost like on a stage. In fact, it is a stage. It's the court of law. It's a courtroom, and it's being televised for all of us to see. And I think it's so huge that we're able to see these things because we're able to compare and see the contrast between pathological liars and just decent people. And I'm not gonna offer you my bias because I do have as they say, a dog in this fight. But essentially, I can relate to what's happening to Johnny. Myself, I'm an actor and someone who is considered sometimes odd or weird because they don't act accordingly to the society they live in, and by that I mean that the things that people get accused of, in fact, for us, is almost like, like when we're accused of such things, because it's like it would never cross our minds because we find these things to be so low, but people are accusing us of it. And again, I think it is so huge that we have this particular case because again, you get to see the contrast between a liar and a decent person. And I'm not going to tell you which is which, but I think you're figuring out. I think the public is I'm getting really passionate about this. The public is getting, is plural or singular. Anyway, they're getting to a glimpse or to see, and not just a glimpse. I think it's a very concrete look of that contrast between a liar and a decent person. We're seeing that the liar, because they lie so much, they're constantly trampling on their own lies, and they're always changing the narrative, and they're always moving the goalpost. And a decent person really is just kind of like one thing about it that I think is why it's just barely happening right now is that we've gotten to a point where there's just so much self-centeredness in the society that is just, for the rest of us, we're just kind of like going, holy crap, we're still in shock. Again, I always relate it to the part where you're a little kid, you're in kindergarten, and you get a glimpse of somebody being mean to you, and you're just going, you're in shock. And every time it happens, you're still a little bit shocked, and then you walk away and you go, oh, God, I should have said something, but you can't because you're a decent person, and when you crap like that happens, you're in shock. So sometimes you feel a bit of a coward because, or slow because you can't react as quickly as some of the vicious people that are out there. I'm sounding a lot like Arthur from the Joker movie, but it's true. People are freaking mean out there, and for a decent person, it's kind of like we're just trying to play catch up. So again, when you have to deal with people that are saying things like "I didn't punch you, I was hitting you," isn't that the same thing? you know but it's meant to make you feel confused. It's a confusing statement. It's supposed to scramble your brain and make you start question yourself. So I made a whole bunch of notes because again it's these are the insights that I've come to realize that what we are dealing with and it's important that it's in public display because people are interested. And just because of maybe it's morbid, it's a morbid need to see these people crash, these celebrities crash, right? Because a lot of people do have that, but at the same time, they're starting to notice, they're gonna get a glimpse of these dynamics. That just because you're a girl, I'm showing my bias now. It doesn't mean you're absolted or cleared of all error. And there's a lot of females out there that are doing that. They're using that. I'm just a girl. I'm just a, what's I call it? A defenseless, pure flower, and a lot of them are taking advantage of just nice guys. Nice guys that will do anything for these women. They literally will, because, see, I think it was Jay Moore. He was a comedian. He's a comedian. He's a great, funny comedian. Came out of the SNL. He's an SNL alumni. But he was in his comedy show. Excuse me. He mentioned that we're the first generation of I love you dads. That we're literally becoming also, in fact, after the COVID shutdown, and all that, everybody had to be at home and things, things changed. A lot of people lost their jobs and things like the Great Resignation and all these things. These are all related because it's changing the paradigm and the way we see things. We're changing. All these things are changing us. We're coming to a lot of conclusions and realizations. Maybe this is why this is, the people call this as the apocalypse, because an apocalypse is literally a divulging of information. So we're finding out a whole lot of stuff. I mean, we could go into it, but that's not what we're talking about right now. And in fact, I'm going to be making videos about things like this, so stay tuned. Anyway, right now what we're seeing in display is that we're literally, a lot of us who have gotten hooked up or married or are with someone or were with someone, we have done it because we have been, is something about our significant others or the other halves were that basically we're dating our parents. Yeah, just I think that if you've been watching the case, the Johnny Depp case, and heard that he does say that, and when he said that, I was like, there it is, and this is why I need to make this video, because we're literally dating our parents, or we marry our parents. Why? Because they were the symbol of love. So if whatever you got from your parents, that's what you'll be looking for in a mate. Whoever raised you, if you were unfortunate enough to not have parents, whoever raised you, whoever formed those first links, cerebral links, or basically whoever started teaching you right at first, in those critical first few months and years, basically that's what you're going to constitute as love, because they're supposed to love you, right? Because they're raising you, and whatever they do, it's love. So if you grew up with abusive parents, or just parents who just didn't know any better, which a lot of us did, I was raised by teenagers. So I have to tell myself these things because I remember when I was a teenager and I didn't know anything, and I was constantly scared because I was afraid of screwing up. I was confused. So again, you all remember what it feels to be a teenager. So to have teenagers raise you, that's some things. And again, I'm speaking about parents who also did it or have raised their children with as good as they can, because that's what they got. You see, so just continue. So what we know as karma is basically, a lot of it is that it's we're living these traumas because basically that's what it is we're marrying our traumas, our traumatizers. Basically we're looking for the trauma that first got us. We end up marrying into or looking towards to, and then we wonder why our relationships are not, you always kind of find the same kind of person, just different face. It's a different face, but it's always the same kind of behavior. That's because we're looking. It's like, perfect example is Jenny in Forrest Gump. If you remember, Jenny tells Forrest Gump, and I love using movies, and I think you'll dig it too, because you'll be able to relate because some of these phrases just trigger something and make you realize, hey, that was a message for you. So that's a message for you. When Jenny says to Forrest, you don't know what love is. And then Forrest, what does he say? I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is. Actually, he says that in another scene. But the crazy thing was that Jenny thought that she knew what love was, but what she got from her parents, and if you consider the beginning of that movie when they meet Jenny, we find out that her dad was really abusive and raped her and beat her and did all kinds of mean things to her. So what would she do? She would look for guys who would rape her and beat her and treat her badly, because that to her was love. So you see, what we're doing is we're linking, or there's another phrase from The Crow where he says to the crack addict mom, because she was screwing one of the bad guys, and she was a prostitute, and she just didn't care about her daughter. And so I think it was crack or something, or it was meth that she had been injecting. And so the Crow holds her arm and kind of squeezes the chemical out of her system. You can see it coming out of the holes, and where she had been injecting. And he says to her, mother is the word for God in the lips of all children. Now think about that. Mother is a name for God in the lips of all children. So for your mother to be anything but that, it can mess you up. Because you see her as God, you see her as love, you see her, or whoever raised you. Again, it's the premise here, or the point here, is that you are gonna model love, or you as a child, you think that what you're getting from your progenitors or the people who are raising you is love, and therefore you look for it in other people. And then if you got abused, that's what you're looking for, abuse, and then you keep looking for more abusive people because that's love to you. So what we're doing is misinterpreting everything. What love is, what life is. In fact, if you consider that, then definitely we're taking life, we're misinterpreting life as being this horrible, horrible journey, and it's hard. And like I said before in other videos, is that it is hard and confusing because we don't know what's going on and because we're not really looking into finding out. But once a lot of things keep happening to you, you kind of start like, wait, I better find out what's going on. So then you become the seeker, right? And it does happen to a lot of us that way. That you keep finding the same pattern. See, I'm talking about those links. Remember the cerebral links that we were talking about when in the early stages of growing up? This is what we're dealing with. All of us, every single one of us. In fact, I remember having a conversation with someone who's no longer in my life, again, because for the same reason, is that we have been sickened by these misconceptions that we behave in a way that we think that's love, and it's not. Anywho, I was conversing with this person and saying, hey, you know what, I feel the thing about this thing about that we're all dealing with it is the fact that it's just so sad that we're all dealing with it, that we're all mistaking love. We don't even know what it is. But if you just consider the concept of unconditional love, what a dog feels for you, what your child feels for you, they'll do anything, including sacrificing or completely changing their own life, or maybe negating something about themselves. Let's say this kid is gay and he can't come out to their parents because he doesn't want to upset them. We're dealing with all of this crap because of those misconceptions, or that misunderstanding that we're having. What is love and what is not? What is trauma and what is not? I mean, love is love and trauma is trauma. So we're all dealing with these things. I mean, divorce cases and children, families split, destroyed. Kids coming up with issues again because it's like, well, I'm from a broken home. We're all dealing with that because we all have these misconceptions about what love is, and what is happening with this case. And we're seeing basically a loving person, someone who's seen horribleness and wants to break the cycle. Again, this is like Jay Moore said, and this comedians have a lot of insight and they point out the silly things that we do. That's why it's funny. It's funny because it's true. Excuse me. But we're in this generation of I love you dads. And a lot of us, I love you. Go, son. Like in the movie Parenthood, when he's shooting everybody, it's like, great shot, son. We just being supportive, being loving and everything. And we have a lot of injured, in this case, women, who don't want to have the same fate that their mothers had, or they've seen other women succumb to abuse or things like that. So it's created a culture of vindictive women. And I'm not going to say that all of them are, because I love them. I love women. I mean, there's a lot of people that in a lot of circles that would consider me as a divine feminine, which is, I know, right? But it's like the energy that you have inside you is just something that is assigned to you because you are meant to bring some light into these topics that get so confusing. What is a male? What is a female? What is feminine? What is masculine? Well, see, all of that is way different things. So that would explain all of this, something about sexual orientation. That maybe it has nothing to do with gender. It's just two souls loving each other. And I have no dog in this fight, so, because I think that, again, if you fall in love with the person's soul, maybe you known each other from another lifetime, and if If it's two people of the same gender, well, who gives a shit? Excuse my language, but they're practicing love. And yes, we're talking about trauma and love and everything, but if they're willing to do for each other so much, for each other, again, not against each other, then that's love. So again, we're gonna see and display that even here we have a heterosexual couple playing on the dynamics of or our prejudices as people. You know, it's like, oh, in fact, there's a recording of Amber talking about, oh yeah, who's gonna believe you, big boy? Who's gonna believe you, a big boy, over me, a nice girl? You know, and to me, honestly, you know, I have these reservations too. That is, if it's a dude, I don't even want to hear it. But I've gotten also to the point where I want to feel what the person's soul has to say. You know, and if you find that I'm talking to you and we're having a good time talking, it's because I really respond to what your soul is saying, not because of what you have or whatever accomplishments. Because I've had a few conversations lately that it's all about that. It's like just kind of like name dropping, and you know, these are shallow conversations. You know, it's like, and you can see the struggle and the other person trying to appear somehow. You know, and again, this is what I think it's really important about this case, that we get to see the contrast between somebody who's lying and somebody who's not, somebody who just wants peace and to do better and to not make this a to protect, especially to protect. There's a lot of I want to protect my integrity. I want to protect my children. I want to protect my family. I want to protect my career. I want to protect. And there's also the other side, which is like, I gotta get this. I gotta get that. I gotta, you know, if I gotta get this across, I gotta make them see me like this. So you can see where all the struggle is, and that's why there's a lot of trampling and all the lies and things like that, because there's so much to do. When you lie, if you're stressed, again, it's you dig your own grave. And part of the reason why I make these videos is, again, to point out, not like a comedian, but more in a serious note, and hopefully I can make it funny so it's more entertaining. But honestly, if we're not looking into our shadow, looking into what's really bugging us, we're always going to keep making the same dumb mistakes. And at this point in the game, it's too costly. Trust me, I'm going through it right now. These decisions that you go, well, it'll work out in the future. No, because if there are red flags, no matter how long you stay, and as you can see with Johnny here, the example that he gave about his father, you know, finally he's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Again, a lot of us stay as long as we can, but it's like, why am I so unhappy? Why am I trying to quiet down or ease my pain with all these drugs? Why am I trying to self-harm? Why do I feel like I'm a piece of shit? Because somebody is making us feel like crap. And the more we hold, the less well we do. And pretty soon we don't even recognize ourselves, and we're just constantly trying to self-harm ourselves because we feel our brain has been scrambled so much with the gaslighting and making you second guess yourself, and all of a sudden you don't know what's what, and you always feel like you're a piece of shit. And they're, you know, again, these kinds of people, they're always, in the beginning, they're always so wonderful, and they always want to be that shoulder to cry on, because, and they always, you can share everything with whatever your darkest fears. You can trust me, and then you go and because they are just so wonderful, so you open up to them, and you tell them all your darkest secrets and all basically the things that really hurt you inside because you trust this person, and then they turn around and They use that on you. If you, for instance, you hate your father because he left, or because he was an asshole to your mom, and you saw it, and or whatever, this person will turn around and say, "You're just like your father." And you see, and it's like, this is how these people operate. And I'm glad that it's on display, so people can start seeing these things, and we can start recognizing that me too. I mean, I'm gonna say me too. And the Me Too movement is not predominantly, as we saw with Terry Crews. It doesn't just have to deal with women. Men are being abused as well, because since we have misconceptions about love, we're sticking around in situations or marriages or unions where we just can't save. But because we saw our parents fail in their marriages or whatever we saw, no, we got to make this work. We got to make this work. And pretty soon, you're a sad version of yourself because you can't even hold it together, because you're losing weight. You're getting all these strange sensations in your body because you're getting sick. You're developing ulcers and all this stuff, and all you do is just kind of like, you're just a shadow of yourself. Pretty soon you start going, you know what, there's something wrong here. What's been happening? And then you realize that you've been played. You've been played because you were the nice guy. You were too nice, and you were seeing everything through the eyes of love. You weren't seeing that somebody was just pretty much setting up the whole game so you could lose, because that's how everything's set up. That now I'm even afraid of getting married to anybody else. In fact, I don't think that's ever going to come into play. I have to marry somebody from Mars or Venus, because another planet or something where they don't know what we know here, because now it's just like, in fact, I was watching a movie, the Zookeeper, and there's a wedding scene, and I saw the girl before wedding gowns used to be like, oh, such a princess, and now I see a wedding gown, and I'm like, I got this twisted sensation in my gut, like, that's bad. See, now there's links in my brain relating to a woman's image in a wedding gown, and seeing that's a shark, and it's circulating, and it's bloodthirsty, and is looking to see what it's gonna find. He's looking for a meal. That shark is looking for a meal. So what happens if I carry on with these thoughts? My son, my daughters, the next generations are gonna have the same issues. That's the karma. We'll tell them about these things. We'll give them our perspective when they come into this world. I'll give them my perspective about love, about women, about brides, about, now that I've been hurt, about that, now that I've been traumatized. We're doing all of this to ourselves. But the reason is because we have these misconceptions. We have a misunderstanding of what love is. Okay, so what do we do now? Well, as one who has been in the seeking business for a few years now, it's that you're gonna break down, because you're gonna have to. Let me put it to you this way: the whole structure has to crumble down, and you need to start rebuilding yourself from top to bottom, or bottom to top, whichever way you want to start. But it needs to be reevaluated and redone all over again, because what you think it's love, what you think it's life, what you think it's you, or what it is that you think that you deserve and want, it's old. That's why I say that it's be good, because everything is at stake. Everything you are, everything you represent, everything you do, everything you're going to get, everything you're going to experience is based on that, on what you do. It's a feedback mechanism. It's what's coming out of you. And that is really why I do feel like I have this bias, because I'm listening to one person and I don't, again, we all have intuition. This is why I was able to identify the problems in my situation. So I stopped it at the moment I found out I was being messed with. Because really, it's a hideous and vicious game. Insidious, I think it's the word that I'm looking for, to do that to a person, because when they trust you, but again, you first have to feel love inside you, you see, to be able to have sympathy and be like, hey, this person loves you, don't do that to them. But these people, these particular people, and in this case, they're women, and again, ladies, I love you. Again, I'm a divine feminine myself, okay? So inside, I'm a big girl. Even though this casing says I'm a male. And again, we'll go into all of that. That's a different topic. But the point is that I love you, ladies. And I believe that being a lady or being female, virtue and grace should be primary. That's all. Virtue and grace. I think that a lady, a feminine lady, someone who identifies themselves as, in this case, a female counterpart in this union, in this heterosexual union, should be full of grace and virtue if she's to be a good representative of that image they're trying to portray, or for instance of what they are. I mean, because again, when you are, you don't have to portray anything, you just are. So as long as you have virtue and grace, then I guess we're good to go. But if you don't, if you get all nasty and because you think, oh, I better spend his before I spend mine, and things, little things like that we've been hearing lately, then you're on that team of having these very masculine traits develop, within you. And I get it, because we're all half and half, and that's what we should be, a harmonious situation. Have those two forces work in conjunction, not one be more overpowering than the other. As you can see, look. Why? Because I can, you see, and isn't that the basis of freedom? To do whatever your soul calls for. And I think it's wonderful that ladies get to do this, and I'm like, I want to do that too. Why not? They get to wear pants. Why do they keep all, the colorful palette all to themselves? And all those wonderful accessories all to themselves? Anyway, but that's another video for another time. But the point is here that we're all meant to be half and half, yin and yang. So we have a little bit of the other one inside us. It's supposed to be harmonious. That's why you have the two helix, yeah. In DNA, you can see that there's two forces there. The masculine and the feminine. They're both there. So if we start considering these things, we won't run into extremes, And if you're a Buddhist, you know what I'm talking about. It's like everything in the middle, instead of being swayed, right or left. Why not just choose the middle? Neutrality is the closest you're gonna get to love, the closest you're gonna get to God. That's literally the nature of God. This neutrality, but that's, I guess, too boring. But that's why I'm making these videos, to point this out. If you're looking for peace and tranquility and, or connection to your higher self, it could get boring. No, it's a joyous thing. But again, it's like you go through this process where it's like, well, if I can't criticize, if I can't judge, if I can't hate, if I can, what is there to do? So it's gonna get a little boring, and that's when the mind starts to come up with all this stuff. It's like, hey, let's do that again. Let's pick on people. Let's criticize people, and it's a tennis match that you'll be playing for a few. But anyway, before this gets to be too long, too late, that's what I'll be talking about in my subsequent uh, videos, because this is not even. I mean, I just barely got through the first few notes that I did, and it's because it's a huge topic. It's a huge topic, and I think it's about time we start talking about this, because the Me Too movement kind of threw everything out of whack. Because yes, there was a lot of guys who were taking advantage and everything, but as we saw with Terry Crews, it wasn't just or women being affected. Guys were being affected too, and in this case, we're starting to see as well that in certain cases, and not, of course, not in all of them, but certainly in mine and in Johnny's, and I know that other guys who have had the same problem, where they they get together with this other person who is just very domineering, and there's just they like their way and no other way, and you just like, you'll hear the phrases, what is it, um, if she's happy, you're happy, things like that, happy wife, happy life, something like that. Sitcoms are huge in contributing to this notion that we as men, again, I consider myself again a man, even though again inside I'm a big girl or a divine feminine, however you want to put it. But the whole point is that I was raised as a male, as a human male, and there's a lot of pressure as a human male to be a protector, to be someone who can be also a big bear of strength, so when you're broken, we can put you back together, to be supportive, again, be a knox of sturdiness and strength, again, I say strength because that's what we're seen to, we're raised to do that. You see, this all of society is saying the same thing, that you as a male, that's your role. But like I said, you have a soul, and your soul is gonna say where you need to go. But society says, no, 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 you can't follow your soul. You have to follow what we say, because we find the soul things being too weird, and it makes us uncomfortable. But shouldn't we be following our soul? I don't know, just a thought. But anyway, the point is that we have a misbalance here, an unbalancing here of the dynamics, because we have very supportive men now, and also there's a lot of abusive, horrible men. And don't get me wrong. Again, like, I'm not men loving here. I mean, because you're seeing a lot of that kind of stuff. It's like, well, it's us against them. Let's just say I'm in the middle, because again, because of the factors or the things that I already stated about myself. So I guess I am in the middle here. But again, I'm not like, hey guys, I'm with you. Whatever you do is perfect. No, I'm not saying that. And because I love women too so much, because I have so much to relate with them. I love my mother, and I think that's where it all started. That I just came to worship women, and I think that's the reason why I got into so much trouble, because there are certain women out there who just, again, sharks, who are just, oh, I can squeeze this guy for everything because he'll do anything for me. You see, so again, we have here with Johnny, we have this guy is just trying to make it right for his family, because he's been there. If you guys been able to catch some of the things he said about his upbringing, there you go. And then he himself spoke about, I felt like I was dating I was married to my mom, because again, we're all just following those patterns, and then we end up with the same kind of people. They raise us, basically. So keep that in mind, guys. From now on, when you're approaching relationships and stuff like that, again, the process of your evolution maybe is just beginning or maybe it's continuing, and I'm helping you, and I hope that some of that stuff that I say helps you, because that's really the only reason why I'm doing it. I'm spending all this time. It's my own time. It's only just because I realize there's a lot of people out there that could use some guidance, and I'm not all wise and powerful Oz or anything, but I know that I feel comfort sometimes hearing some people speak that are going through the same thing I'm going through, and they have some kind of insight on how to get over it or how to get through it. So that's really all I'm doing, And again, we all have intuition, because intuition is connected to the divine. This is how we're able to navigate, but we've been taught to ignore it. But inside you, you'll feel an openness when somebody's speaking to you from the heart, from their soul. And then you'll feel this anxious anxiety and uneasiness when you're hearing crap. When you're hearing somebody just like, because it doesn't make any sense, it's just mumbo jumbo, it almost gives you a headache. That's your intuition telling you there's bullshit here. And bullshit stinks, no matter who's shoveling it. So, if anything, the message that I'm trying to send to you here is use your intuition. No, you're not crazy. There's certain things that your intuition is just yelling and sending you messages and trying to tell you in dreams and trying to get people to knock some sense into you. Hey, check this out. There's something you're missing here. Something you're not seeing. Again, because sometimes we can't recognize things through all the trauma. But like I said, if anything, if you can't remember anything, yes, you can use your intuition. Your intuition will let you know. And it's going to take a while before you start to kind of see or sense. Meditation is huge in connecting to those specific abilities. Because we all have it. I mean, we're all really special. We're all really special, and you have so much power within you that you have absolutely no idea the things you can do. It's just like Jesus Christ said. It's like, whatever I can do, you guys can do more and better. So that's really just the point of all this, is for us, all of us, to get better. Because it makes no sense for me to improve myself if everybody else is lagging behind, for instance, or, if I'm doing this from trying to improve and everybody else is not, then I'm just going to drive myself crazy, right? But I've seen glimpses of the other side. I've gotten communications of the basically divine messages where that's the message. Don't pull to the right, don't pull to the left. Be more neutral. And if you don't know how to get there, that's when the journey begins, and you start to peel away all the crap that you don't need. And this reminds me to something that I heard from Bruce Lee. Think about it. And he got it from Confucius or someone, or Alan Watts even. That is, it's a process of shedding away. This process of self-discovery. Because that's what your life is. You're learning so many things about you and your soul, primarily. How your soul does in this environment. Basically, all the resistance that we find in this reality, all the contrast, it is to dig the divinity out of you, to make you question, is this really me? Or I'm just playing out my traumas. So if I'm playing out my traumas, I'm not even being myself. I'm just being some pattern, full of patterns. I want you to be free of all of that. Because, I'm in in the process of liberating myself, and I want the same for you. And just like Bruce Lee or Alan Watts or Confucius said, it's a process of peeling away the unessentials, hacking away what you don't need. Like a sculpture. Starts like a big rock, right? It's rough. But then you start refining it, chisel after chisel after chisel mark or strike. It's a process of shedding away what it's not you. Okay, I think I spoke enough. I hope that this again brings you some kind of clearance, some kind of peace, so, sparks an idea within you so you can liberate yourself. And we can all move together to the place where we're all meant to be, home.